like you have the dead bodies that are there, and that's already bothering you enough because you're like, holy crap, maybe these are going to come back as zombies one day. And then that day happens, and they come back as zombies, and you can't do anything about it. Like a bottle opener, an envelope opener. What do you mean open with?
I don't know.
Yeah.
A bottle opener. Yeah, let's pop some bottles as we start this conversation.
Hey, that would make for an interesting podcast.
Yeah, I'm sure that would go very well.
At
At 6 a.m.
Yeah, at 6 a.m. That would be.
That's a bit
Plus,
of a...
Jimmy Buffett said it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Well, yeah, yes, it is 5 o'clock. Yes, yeah, I told you. It looks much better. And it also tells you what time it ends now.
Yeah, wow.
Nice.
The timer on the... we're just admiring iOS 13. The timer it does look much nicer. It's got like a ring that like counts down to. That's pretty cool.
Hey, and just retrospect, Jimmy Buffett didn't specify if it was 5 in the afternoon or 5 in the morning.
Because, whenever you feel like it.
Yo.
Because
Wednesday's close to Thursday, which is close to Friday, so that makes it socially acceptable.
Absolutely.
It's Friday somewhere.
To be fair, like it depends to where you are. When you go to the Bahamas, people are drinking like early in the morning. Like right out, like especially if you go on those cruises like those, like that people just don't stop. It's just maxed out.
There's a reason. It's like I don't have to drive. I pay somebody to drive this boat.
Exactly. Yeah, fair enough. Good point. So it's like at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter if it's 5 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock at night. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, boys.
Oh yeah, I mean that's a little different when you're on a cruise, but just like it's Wednesday morning and we just showed up to work and we're just gonna crack some
mimosas. Yeah,
that's it. Salted water all around the table, boys. San Pellegrino.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Get ready.
Oh, good.
I like how all the social etiquette goes right out the window when you go on a vacation. Like,
right?
Like don't you like legitimately? Like you're on a cruise boat or a cruise ship or whatever, or even on just like normal vacations at like resorts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
All social etiquette gone. Just absolutely gone.
What do you mean? I'm in a place that's not my normal environment.
Yeah.
Like, all restraint just ripped right off.
Yeah, you mean I can't like go clubbing at 2 o'clock in the morning and just do?
Well, to be fair, I don't know if you guys ever like looked at the prices on a cruise, but like if you do get like because usually the drinks are included with the cruise.
Yep.
So the amount of money you pay, it probably just makes you feel better, just knowing like I got my money's worth.
Yeah, I gotta make this up somewhere, boys.
Yeah,
I'm gonna make this worth it. Absolutely.
Anywho, welcome to another episode of THELife. Oh, this is actually episode 50 of THELife podcast.
Woo! Is that true?
It is.
I'll take your word for it.
I did the quick maths.
Did you do
quick
the
maths?
Okay, fair enough.
I did.
I
Nice.
I do believe it's episode 50.
I hope so, because if it's not,
5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Too slow.
I think this is 49.
No, 49 would have been last Friday.
I don't know.
Okay, so maybe I lied. But anyways, welcome to the Life Podcast. My name is Tyler, and I'm here with Benji and Eric. Yo,
hello, I'm Benji.
both of you fight for your place in this podcast.
Yeah. Hello.
what's going on? No, I don't know if it is 49. I should know, because
Why do we always have a problem with counting show numbers? We had this in the other show too.
That's why we started at tally.
Yeah, well, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
I don't understand how it's that difficult to figure out what show. Like, I'm not better at it either. Like, I mess up all the time.
Well, it stinks because we like post like
Yeah, fair.
a week in advance or whatever.
I'm
you
almost
say, a week
positive this
behind.
is 49.
Yeah, I think this is 40.
I'm almost positive. I
Well,
think
again, to be all transparent, we're a bit behind on
Today
this
would have
recording
been.
schedule.
Yeah, because we didn't record on Monday. So today would have been episode 50, but we're behind in episode.
Yeah.
Let the truth.
That's how the sausage is made, boys. That's
Lips and buttholes. Okay, let's keep moving.
So today's episode, that was a great segue.
Oh yeah. Show. Jeez. Okay.
Oh, what, we have a show to do?
Yeah.
Oh wait, we're on?
Yeah, really. Is this thing on? Is this thing? I can't even open the note. They're
Listen,
right next to each other.
I'm so glad we have a fan base. Thank you so much for following us and our stupid shenanigans as we try to get our act together and talk about meaningful things.
Listen, this is perfectly fine. This is what people signed up for.
This has been like 49 episodes of this now.
Exactly. we can't turn back now, boys.
We got a reputation uphold.
Of course. Okay, so today's topic: being comfortable versus being happy. This is kind of one of those like stages of understanding or the states of knowledge type of episodes, which we talked about way in the beginning. But you can be comfortable and happy, comfortable and unhappy, uncomfortable and happy, and uncomfortable and unhappy. And there you go. Does anybody have any opening statements?
Pink Floyd.
Pink Floyd.
What about Pink Floyd?
Comfortably numb.
Oh.
I don't know.
that's-
Oh yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, that was a whole
If you can't feel anything, you can't feel pain, boys.
Well, just as Steve-O.
Yeah, right? Oh, jeez.
Anyways, that's a completely different topic. Sorry, guys. I am not the one to start this right now.
Oh no, just as a broad concept.
Yeah.
There's a difference between being comfortable and being happy, because I think a lot of people look at their lives and they're like, I am very comfortable, so that must mean that I am happy. And that's not necessarily true.
Yes. Well, comfort. All right. So the way I wanted to go about this was like, happiness lasts a lot longer than comfort.
Yeah.
You know. So when you're comfortable, it's a very short term thing. You might be comfortable for like a month and you feel good. That's a comfort season. And that's a good thing. I support those. I think every not every season, but I think every season should be comfortable. I'm just kidding. But I think everyone should have a season of comfort.
If you want every season to be comfortable, move to San Diego.
That's probably the worst place to go.
Yeah, right. I guess they say like San Diego stays at like the same temperature pretty much like all year round.
Oh yeah.
I thought
Oh,
you were
that's
making
a-
like
that's
a
an option.
political
No.
statement or something.
Well, no, but you could just move like down to LA and that yeah, you'll be very uncomfortable very fast.
Yeah.
Anyways, continue. Sorry.
Yeah, but when you're truly happy, like that lasts so much longer, and it feels, and at first it does feel the same as comfort, and I think that's why it's confusing. I there have been people in my life that I've heard them say to me, I'd rather be comfortable than be uncomfortable.
Of course.
Yeah, and like he would, instead of like to move forward in his life, he's like, I'm comfortable right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather stay comfortable where I am than make myself be uncomfortable to get to a better place.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't those words exactly, but that's what he meant. And it was kind of mind blowing because that's the complete opposite of how I think.
Mm-hmm.
Like complete.
Well, I think a
opposite.
lot of people think like that. I
Yeah.
think if you took a poll of people in general, this is backed up by no data, so don't whatever.
Fact
But
check.
like just like my thoughts on my observations on people. If you took the community as a whole of individuals and say, would you rather be comfortable where you are right now, just stay where you are right now and just be comfortable, but not achieve your maximum potential? Or would you rather be uncomfortable and possibly reach your highest potential? And I think a majority of the people would say, I would rather be comfortable and not know what I could have achieved.
Well, I mean, just take a page from us. Think about it. I mean, I've been extremely satisfied and uncomfortable since we opened up this whole experiment here. Said, hey, we're just gonna rip it. We're gonna do whatever it takes, and we're gonna see how far this pony can go until she dies.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. I mean, when you said that, like I said before that, like the comfort, you have to work hard to stay comfortable. You know.
Yeah.
It's like, and I guess it's a matter of mindset. Because I think a lot of people. Well, there are people that can. They're very content people. They don't like change.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, like in my family, there are people who just hate change. So like that's their comfort level. If anything changes, it's like, oh no, I'm going back. And
Yeah, a lot of people. I think a lot of people.
There's
are like
a lot
that.
of people like that. You keep talking, and every time you start talking, Eric, this has nothing to do with you, but it keeps bringing up this example to me. To be comfortable, it is easy to be comfortable, but think about somebody, say they want to have a sedentary lifestyle. Say all you do is sit in your computer chair all day, or say you sit in your lounge chair,
Yep.
and you do not do anything. You can be comfortable for a predetermined amount of time. You'd be like, oh, I'm not going to move. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going anywhere. Eventually, you're going to get big, or you're going to get complacent because you're not moving, and it's going to get very uncomfortable because you're not going anywhere. Think about somebody who's in a hospital and had like a stroke or a coma, or I mean really anything. If you're bedridden, eventually you become so sedentary that your flesh rots and you get bed sores just from laying there being way too comfortable.
Yeah, that's very extreme, but very true.
So you get forced into discomfort by trying to just to maintain comfort.
Yeah.
Or if you sat in a hot tub for too long, eventually like your skin's just gonna want to like shrivel up and melt off. It's like, wow, I'm so comfortable, I can't go anywhere. It's like, nah, I'm pretty sure, bro, like you gotta get out. Like,
Dude, you're dying.
you've been in here for 3 hours. Where'd your nose go? Like,
But it's true, and again, this is one of those things where there's physical examples that we can see that draw parallels to mental, psychological things, and it's always humans are always going to want to be comfortable. It's dangerous when you start making, like, do you start taking away from your happiness just to be comfortable in the moment? We use this example with the procrastination, where procrastination is like leveraging future discomfort, compacted discomfort for current comfort, or whatever, however it's worded. Nonetheless, it's like it gets worse the longer you put it off.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with the happiness and the comfort system, where it's all like, if you're comfortable in your 9-to-5 job, but you're not happy with it, it's going to be harder to leave after longer periods of time.
well, and that breeds resentment too. Or say like, okay, so you're in that job, or you have a personal relationship, say like a husband and a wife or whatever. Like the wife hates how the husband acts, but she wants to be comfortable because she wants to maintain the house and keep everything keep everything copacetic. And eventually, it's like, okay, I'm gonna put off my happiness to maintain my comfort so that I can at least have like a decent place to stay and I can drive my Mercedes every day. Instead of like, oh, I'm gonna confront my husband and be like, yo, gotta fix this, or I gotta get out. It's like, okay, so leveraging that way.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. And the other thing about comfort is, like, a lot of people, they're comfortable for a while. Like you said, like, the comfort part is the paycheck. You know, you're comfortable with the paycheck that's coming in, but you hate the job. Or you're just uncomfortable, or like you're just not satisfied with the job because, like, it used to be a challenge and now it's not a challenge anymore. You know, so you get to a point where, like, you need more challenging things when it comes to it. But the other side of it is the discomfort. Oh, I'm sorry. I just got, like, I threw myself off. Give me a sec.
Oh, okay. The comfort versus happiness thing is very dangerous, because a lot of people will get stuck in this cyclical cycle where it's all like, I'm uncomfortable, or I'm comfortable in my position with the money that I make, but I'm not happy. So I spend all of the money that I have from my quote unquote comfortable job to fund my current happiness, quote unquote happiness. Like, okay, like, let's use an example. This happens a lot with like doctors, doctors and nurses, which is really interesting. Like, you get paid a lot of money if you're a doctor, but a lot of people aren't happy as doctors because of a lot of different reasons, and then they go and they just like get blackout drunk with the money that they spend.
And you know what? That's so true. I actually have one of my best friends, and I'm sure he wouldn't even mind like admitting it, or if I talk about it right now, like he did that. He finally became an RN. He was successful. He was going home every night. He would get home. I mean, his hours and everything were crazy. He was very uncomfortable, and he would basically drink himself to sleep every single night until somebody confronted him, and he was like, "Yo, I gotta fix my life because I'm getting wrecked."
It's a very common theme in the medical world.
Yeah, that's huge. Or you even see that a lot with like over any kind of overnight jobs. I see that a lot with the, like, waterfront and trucking industries. It's like, okay, any of your free time, because you're not a normal part of society. Like, okay, I work, say, 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. at night. It's like I can't conduct myself as a normal human being because all the banks are closed, everything's closed except for the bars being open. I'm gonna leave work every day.
That's a good point.
Get drunk, go home, go to sleep, wake up around 11 o'clock to be at work for 12, and start that cycle all over again.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Did you figure out what you were trying to say before?
I was gonna say that uncomfortable discomfort is also very temporary.
You're making me feel uncomfortable.
Thanks. So the discomfort part of it too. So when you make yourself in an uncomfortable situation, it is extremely uncomfortable for a short period of time. Just in the last month of my life, we put ourselves in a very uncomfortable place, and it was just like we had balance. We had the balance in our life. We had, like, you know, I had a time when I did my laundry. I had a time that I did all of the chores I needed to do and maintain my other business and do everything. And then all of a sudden things got very uncomfortable.
Well, just think about how comfortable it is to wake up at 5 a.m. to be able to have a meeting every morning. Like,
exactly. Yeah. At first it was super difficult. Actually, the first day was all right. It's just like, but it did. The first day is always okay.
It's like a bell curve.
Day two, right? Day
Yeah.
3 wrecked more.
Exactly. And then you start to adjust, and then you start to go to bed earlier, and then your life starts to shift so that it refines the balance, and that suddenly uncomfortable level is just a little bit more comfortable now. And that's the growth. Getting comfortable in uncomfortable situations is the growth that we always talk about. And that's where the direction I wanted to go with that last statement, so forgive me, whoever was listening.
And we're gonna take a quick break for an ad. But the thing that's important that I'd like to open up next segment with is there's no guarantee to be comfortable. And you're not. You're the one who's in control of both of your comfort and your happiness, and you have to make the decision based off of how you want to use those resources. But we'll be back after this ad break.
Stay tuned.
We would like to thank Anchor for sponsoring and hosting the Life podcast. So who are Anchor and what do they do? Anchor is the all-in-one platform that gives you everything you need to make and publish your podcast. And best of all, it's all free. Anchor allows you to use their creative tools to record and edit your podcast. No need for any fancy professional equipment. Sounds amazing, right? And we haven't even gotten to the best part. Anchor isn't just a recording and editing platform. They're a publisher too. This means that Anchor takes care of all of the hard stuff, like publishing to Apple and Google Podcasts, so you don't have to. So what are you waiting for? Download the Anchor app today or go to anchor.fm to get started. Another thanks to Anchor for hosting, publishing, and sponsoring the Life podcast. People say this where it's all like, if I'm already uncomfortable, why am I going to double down on my discomfort on the chance of getting out of this situation? So what you're saying is, I got to make my life worse before it can get better.
Yes.
It's like, actually, yeah. It's going to get a lot more. If you're in an uncomfortable situation, to say you're in a dead-end job that we were explaining for the Patreon users who are already listening to this conversation, the idea that it's like, okay, I have a dead-end job. I don't want to be here. I don't have any education. I don't have any other skills. I have 4 hours a day extra that I go and I hit the bars with the friends, whatever. It's all like, to get out of that situation, you got to double down on the discomfort and just like put the nose to the grindstone, and then there's a chance that you can get out of that situation. And I think a lot of people have an issue where it's like, you're uncomfortable, so you just passively sit through the uncomfortable situation as opposed to trying to mitigate the uncomfort.
When you double down, that extra level of uncomfort you're going to get, it in theory, will be your motivation to get yourself out. Like, that should be enough motivation that you're so uncomfortable that you'll do anything to change this. And hopefully you make better decisions to get you out of it, whether it's like, okay, I'm going to go make some skills that's stronger. I'm going to go join like some sort of just technical skill that I'm going to go learn so that I can get into a better, something that I really want to do. Right.
It's like studying at night to be able to, and working full time to be able to get that better job eventually.
Exactly. You said like the drinking 4 hours after your shift. It's like instead of the drinking for 4 hours, like you're studying for 4 hours.
Nah, but I need to drink, man. I got to repress my feelings, bro.
Yeah. And then
I got to sleep somehow, man.
well, you got work in the morning, bro.
It's true. And there's people have way more time than they think they do. It's priority based.
Yep.
It's like, if you're unhappy in whatever situation you're in right now, if you're really unhappy and you're really uncomfortable, or if you're really unhappy and you're comfortable, there has to be a shift. If you have to actively go after your own happiness.
Well, it starts with a level of consciousness. First, it's being able to recognize the problem and being like, I'm unhappy. Why am I unhappy? And then that click is like, oh, this, and I actually can get out of it if I do this, and this, or at least I have a great shot to do it. I mean, think about it. I mean, I've been sitting down at my job. I'll get really real about this right now. Like, I sit down at my normal 9-to-5 job right now, and as we sit back and we began building this thing, it's like, I've never wanted to like be so uncomfortable to be happy in my life because I'm conscious to the fact of it will bring me eventually comfort and happiness rather than comfort and unhappiness.
Yeah. That's big. And a lot of people don't realize why they're unhappy. And that's scary. Like, if you, and awareness is the biggest part of this. If you're not aware of what actually is the problem, if you're not aware that your job is bringing you down, or if you're not aware that the relationship that you're in is bringing you down, and that's usually a big one.
Yeah.
Because
love blind or whatever.
Love is blind. So if you're not aware of these things, then it's super hard. Because then you're listening to us right now and you're like, okay, that's great, guys. I'm super unhappy. You're telling me that I need to get uncomfortable, but I already feel like crap.
Yeah, man,
like,
just be happy, bro.
And it's like,
Yeah.
and I understand that's a very difficult place to be, and we can't tell you what your problem, where your problem is stemming from, but it's coming from something that's very close to you that you do every day.
Listen,
And
I'm pretty sure we could help you if you send us an email here.
Oh,
at
yeah,
TheLife
yeah,
at gmail.com.
absolutely. Or you could.
Shameless pitch.
What's the new email?
We got a bunch of one of us, either Ben or Eric or Tyler at thestudio.productions.
I thought we made a podcast one.
We might have. Oh, THELife at thestudio.productions.
Well, don't just go for
Just
the first
email
one.
one of them. Yeah, email one of them.
Send them all.
There's so much.
Send them all.
Send one to
Get to
each of them, and then eventually you'll get one of us. But it's so true, and it's like mismanagement is the issue. Mismanagement in a lot of different things. It's not just mismanagement in my finances, it's mismanagement in my time, in my social aspects, in my relationships, in my job. It's mismanagement. The thing, if you get anything from listening to the 49 or 50 episodes of this podcast that have been published, to whatever number we're on right now, if you learn anything, it's we are the source of our own problems.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
We sit here and we blame the world around us and we say that person did this thing and that person did that thing. We are the source of our own problems. If we want to be comfortable, we have to do it. If we want to be happy, we have to do it. And sometimes that means doubling down on the discomfort to be comfortable.
Yep, and it's true. And if you say, "Oh, well, this is wonderful and this is great," if you want any kind of insight on how to be free from yourself, you can go over to the studio YouTube page and check out some of our one takes and other materials there, and we can help you get free from yourself too.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. So, like Tyler was saying earlier, is like you don't just wake up and all of a sudden you're in this position. Like this is usually a handful of decisions that got you to a point where you got yourself in a corner. You don't just wake up in the corner. You've made your decisions that led you there, whether it was awareness, whether you were aware of it or not.
Yep.
So it's like you do have to backtrack, and see like where did I start going wrong, and that might be a very long backtrack. We said it before in other episodes too. Like I know we're talking a lot about drinking today, but it's just a common thing that a lot of people do to make themselves feel more comfort.
Well, I mean, seeing that both of us have done it, it's a place of wisdom to be able to speak from here.
Exactly, absolutely. Like this is what I used to do all the time. I used to have Tuesday night drinking nights. Every time, because I used to always work 1 to 10 on Tuesdays. So like as soon as I got out of work, I'd get with a couple of friends and we'd just drink. That would be every Tuesday. I never failed.
I had every night drinking nights.
Oh yeah, I did too. But
Like we were playing around here. It was like honestly, me and one of my friends, we had this logical reasoning. It's like, oh well, you can't really drink until Friday because that's what's socially acceptable. Well, Monday's close to Tuesday, which is close to Wednesday.
Yeah,
which is close to Thursday, and Thursday's right before Friday. Yeah, no, it's fine. You're good. Just send them all. Send all the drinks.
Yeah. Hey, honestly, one of the things that got me to stop, they got me to like really understand my drinking problem was one time, I think we went like 9 days straight drinking, like just straight drinking, and it was like at first it was really fun. But
those are rookie numbers.
But day 9, and I mean like wasted every day, and by day 9. I like didn't want to drink. I was like literally like they asked me if like do you want to like let's drink, and I was just like please God no.
You get so engrossed in your own issues that you're like, you know what, nah.
Yeah, so that I'm not recommending that, but that was one of the things that made me realize.
Well, sometimes you have to get deep into something
you gotta double
to
down,
realize.
yeah. You gotta double down, and I'm not recommending that at all. And if you do it, don't drive, please. But. All I'm saying is, like, you do have to double down into things in order to get the awareness. And if you don't know where things start from and you're still drinking every day, it's like, oh, I'm going to think about it when I'm drunk. And it's like, no, that's not going to get you anywhere. It's a loop. It's a cycle. We were joking around this morning of like, how many drinks does it take for me to restart the cycle?
Oh, yeah. To complete my depressive cycle.
Yeah.
But if Jimmy's drinking all night, well, how we phrase that word?
No, it was like if Jimmy's landlord is coming in the morning and he's partying at night, the night before, how many drinks does he have to have before he passes out at 3:30 and restart the entire cycle?
Successfully restart the same destructive cycle.
Yes.
But it's true, and we joke around about it, because it's funny, because it's sad,
and it's true,
and it's true, and it's like a lot of people live this lifestyle where it's like this is all they do, and we're picking on drinking because it's an easy topic for us to talk about.
Listen, I can count at least 10 of people who are fairly close to me. I could reach out to them right now and talk to them that live this destructive lifestyle.
Yeah, and it's true, and it's like it's not just drinking, it's gambling or it's whatever. And
usually they go hand in hand.
Yeah, we use this dumb little example of okay, you want to go painting, like you're addicted to painting, but it's always manifests as something. Some people buy cars, some people buy shoes, some people buy stuff when they're depressed. It's like it's
the same thing.
Yeah, it's the result of being unhappy. Is it manifests in something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So just because if you're sitting there and you're thinking to yourself, well, I don't have a drinking problem, so I'm obviously happy, but I just don't know it.
Mm-hmm.
That's not necessarily true.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're uncomfortable, like there are things where when I stopped drinking and I stopped doing everything else that I was doing that used to be my comfort level or my comfort seeking mental go-tos.
It's like your pacifier.
Exactly. I started to, like, especially early on, I realized that whenever I got stressed, I would do something else. Like I'd either binge watch TV or I would spend money just to get that comfort level, just to make me feel better. And that. It was fine, you do it and you don't even realize you're doing it at the end of the day because you're like, oh, at least I'm not drinking. You know what I mean? You're spending the same amount of money, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm not drinking, right? And then you start to get to a point where you start to learn that once you start to get comfortable with nothing, just with yourself, just being able to sit with yourself and be able to find comfort in that, that's where like things really start to change. And that's when you start to really be, I guess, grow, but it's so uncomfortable. Don't get me wrong; that's very uncomfortable.
That's an interesting point that I hadn't thought of in this context until Eric said it. Was the idea that I know a lot of people, that if I asked them, "Can you stay by yourself for 24 hours without any outside influence? Like, could you be alone on a beach for 24 hours?" People would say no.
A lot of people,
no,
they would say yes, but when it actually came to it, it's very difficult.
Yeah,
especially if you've never really done that before. A lot of people are afraid to even spend the time. A lot of people have this joke like, "Oh, I see it all the time." It's just like I'm my worst enemy kind of joke where it's like I don't even know who I am, and then like then you drink and then you become this new person and all this other stuff. It's like you're afraid of yourself so much that you create like this like it's a monster, and in theory it kind of is. You are your own monster, quote unquote. But like you're so afraid to just sit in a room with yourself and actually face the thoughts that you do think. But once you finally do that, you really get to know yourself in a new way, and you really get to appreciate who you are. But a lot of people who have problems with like being by themselves is because they're afraid of their own thoughts, and they play music or they have to do something to keep their mind active. We talked about that before.
We talked about that before for sure. That's a big one. It's like stimulating the outside senses just to be able not to be able to fall back on that introspective place. It's like, okay, well, I can't think my own thoughts, so I have to be bombarded with outside stimulus so that I get hooked on that or addicted to that or whatever it is.
Absolutely. You talk about pressure systems like goes from high to low pressure. The idea that if there's so much going on in your head and you're suppressing so many things in your head, the level of noise, the level of quote unquote pressure has to be so high on the outside so that things don't come out of your mind. Everything comes in.
Yeah.
And that's a really weird way to say it, but that's really what's happening.
And think about the mental breakdown that stems from that. If that is the cycle that you're walking in or living in, where you have to have outside stimulus, that pressure, the outside pressure to keep the inside pressure from exploding, it only takes a little shift or a little imbalance in that to have a complete mental breakdown.
And that's what I was trying to get with when I was saying like comfort level. It takes maintenance, because now like you get to a point, like it's hard to stay comfortable, especially if you want to stay like in a complacent place, because you get to a point where your thoughts get very loud, and people around you get loud too, because they can start telling you like you need to do something, and you're just trying to stay in this comfort, like I don't want to see any change. So then now you have to make more noise around you. You have to put on the TV louder. You have to do things. You can't have like that time that you have in quiet gets shorter and shorter. Like you used to be able to sit by yourself for an hour. Now you can't do it for more than 5 minutes. And now it's like that really does change. And like it gets shorter and shorter the more you try to hold on, until you get to a nervous breakdown point where it's like I can't even like, and then you have your breakdown. But I'm not a psychologist. I've
seen a
never
few.
studied. Yeah, I've seen a few, but like this is this is just my opinion and my thoughts on the matter. But that's the way I look at it.
Well,
Absolutely.
coming from the outside too, we were just talking about mental breakdown. A pre-sign of being close to a mental breakdown is having meltdowns all the time. If it
Over,
takes
like,
one,
little
if it
things,
takes one little thing to just melt down, and you know somebody who just melts down at the little things, they are on the cusp of a mental breakdown. And that is like the that's like your radiator cap. If you ever been around a drift car or anything, and you get a car like real hot because you're like banging on the car real hard, eventually your heating system, your cooling system can't keep up with it, and it will end up releasing steam. You ever see the cars that they just start overheating, they just start spewing water everywhere?
Yeah.
It's like because it had nowhere to go, and it's the same thing with those meltdowns. It's like there's so much pressure in the system that it needs to have that those blow-offs, but you're still always at that max thing. Like you have to let it cool down. I hope that communicates.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
communicates so well. Yeah.
And the thing is that this usually manifests by people creating outside stimulus that doesn't need to be there.
Yeah, right. If
That-
you're not romping on your car like and you have it to the boards for 15, 20 minutes out of whack, like you wouldn't be overheating.
Yeah.
That's why there's a lot of different reasons for this type of social interaction, but a lot of in like high schools, a lot of people aren't like children. Fair enough. Like children developing don't like sometimes who they are becoming or who they're leaving. So like drama develops outside of those things, and there's a lot of different reasons for this. But if you read psychological papers, you can see like if you don't like what's internally happening, you have to make external stimuli so that your brain is being bombarded with other issues to worry
Well,
about.
we just had a podcast like that, right?
With what?
With the same thing. You treat people how you feel about yourself.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's
absolutely.
that goes hand in hand.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this has been a great segment, guys. We're gonna leave it there because we only got 10 seconds before the Ducks get here. But we will be back, so stay tuned.
I reference that fairly frequently.
Yeah, all the times. Especially when I'm driving.
I missed it.
Right? Oh, I crossed 7 lane, no blinker. Good luck, everybody else.
The culturally sensitive podcast. That is
Welcome to podcast.
We're back. Yay!
Oh, hey, I found this cool font on Photoshop before we get back into it through Adobe. It's called Comrade.
Yes. Wonderful.
I'm gonna start making some pictures of a Comrade.
Do you use the Adobe like the fonts thing?
Yeah.
Oh, that's legit. I love it. I love that you can
and you can just
like,
turn it on.
turn
too.
it on and then it goes on everything. That's
Yeah.
so legit. Like
Bro, I was a little like upset for a second. Like I was like, man, that's all I got for fonts. And it's like, wait, nah, I got this thing built into the suite. And it's like, oh yeah.
yeah. It's
All
so,
right.
It's so legit.
All killer, no filler. Take what you want, leave what you don't want.
We were working on some client pictures, Eric and I, and we were in Lightroom, and I was like, oh, I wish that was just a little bit different. And it was like right click, open in Photoshop, and I was like, yes. It was just like
It just
seamless.
Moved, yeah,
just
it
moved the whole
over, and then you changed it, and you didn't even have to import it back.
Yeah, it
You
just
literally
changed
just
it
like
back
it
in
just.
Lightroom.
I was like, wow.
We were doing something in Premiere too,
Yeah.
and then we imported the Photoshop file directly. Like we didn't even have to render it, and then put it right into Premiere. Premiere rendered it, and then you changed it in Photoshop, and it changed it right in Premiere. It was the best. It was so good.
One negative point about Photoshop that I was getting frustrated with yesterday, and there's like a really big multi-step process. I couldn't find a font the way I wanted. You know that thing that you could do on Snapchat, like the label, like it has the black outer box, like with like the inverse text on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I just wanted the outside the outside area to be able to be colorized.
Yep.
And it's not as easy as go to my Microsoft Word or anything. You can just highlight it and change whatever color.
Yeah.
It's like there's a multi-step process to be able to make your text do that. And it's not like draw
You can't
text.
just draw a box.
I can, but that's not the point of what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make something that can be reused fast. Like you type out and I didn't have to draw all the boxes again.
Oh, okay.
Like I just want the text to generate it.
Yeah, so you're making like a template rather than
Yeah.
Okay, so that's why it's a bit more complicated.
Which
that's
is
fair.
which was crazy.
I wonder if Illustrator has something like that. Well, because it's path based now, it's probably
No,
doesn't
it
have.
just dude, it has to just come down to. I'll figure it out soon.
Oh, that's weird.
Try your
That's
design.
interesting. I haven't done that Spark does it. The worst case scenario, just take
it over to Spark and then come back into Photoshop.
Yeah.
Yeah, you honestly,
That's an option.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
I will figure it out.
The graphic design portion of this podcast is brought to you by.
Also try InDesign. That might be able to do it too.
It's brought to you by
Practical Life Application. Okay, wonderful. So the jingle. My parents asked me about that.
Hit the
and
jingle.
I was like, yeah, there you go.
They asked about it.
Yeah, my mom was like, "Is that what you guys are doing now?" And I was like, "Yeah, I guess so." It's like that's my parents' interaction with this podcast. So that was an interesting conversation. So we're talking about the difference of being comfortable and being happy. Here we have the 4 states of living, I guess, would be the consideration. Comfortable and happy, which is obviously the best. You always want to be comfortable and you always want to be happy. So being comfortable and happy is always the best. Comfortable and unhappy, which is not as good because you're comfortable in the moment, but you're not happy overall.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Uncomfortable and happy, which is I'm uncomfortable in the things that I need to do to be happy, which is better, I guess. And then uncomfortable and unhappy, which is just like I just don't like my life. So there you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does anyone have any practical life application concepts for those things?
Figure out where you sit on those things.
That's a good step.
Well, it's number one.
Yeah.
It came from consciousness. We were saying, like, once you can recognize the problem, it's like, why am I so unhappy? One thing that Jose really asked, he always keeps asking me that we bring it up. We were sitting at my kitchen table, like, what? Like a month ago, and we were talking about.
Has it been a month already?
Well, we were talking about discomfort and suicide,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the number one thing he really wanted me to bring up. Maybe we'll have a show about that.
We're gonna have to have a whole show about that. Yeah.
But we were saying that a lot of times people have this mental discomfort because they take these bodies and they steamroll them into the concrete. I mean, as an example, you go and you repress these ideas or these thoughts or whatever it is that's making you uncomfortable to the point where you completely forget about them. You can actually completely forget about them and rewrite a new narrative on top.
Oh, absolutely.
But those things never actually go away, like those dead bodies in the concrete. I mean, they're there as much as you can't see them.
Yep.
And if you don't end up dealing with those, you will have perpetual discomfort from a place that you can't recognize because you buried it way too long ago without actually dealing with it appropriately. And the minute we're conscious of the things that make us feel like it, like, I mean, I can talk about it, wanting to kill myself for years and years. There was a time where I didn't even understand or realize why I felt like I just wanted to kill myself because I had so many repressed thoughts and repressed memories and things that I had drinking away for years that finally all came up to the surface, and that they actually did stem to a mental breakdown. So, like, I mean, the things that we did talk about this morning really come from a personal place of understanding. So we're not just like talking as unqualified,
No, yeah, this
unqualified
is all real life
individuals.
stuff, yeah.
But it really takes, as practical life application, is assessing where you are in life. Are you comfortable? Are you actually happy? Are you comfortable? Are you but unhappy? And we used that example early in this morning. It's like, okay, well, the wife that tolerates the husband's drunken and just rude behavior or whatever to be comfortable so that she can stay in the same house and drive a Mercedes rather than fix her marriage or have to get a divorce.
Yeah.
And anybody else got anything?
Yeah, another thing that I think is important to do is do regular checkups on yourself, and just see, like, literally just check in with yourself. Because a lot of the things is like, just like when you're driving a car, you don't know something's going bad. Like a part is gonna go bad until it breaks. Same thing with like this. You don't know you have a problem until you have a mental breakdown.
Well, I mean, you can cook it with the check engine light on for a long time.
And that's the same thing in your own life. You can see the check engine light go off in your life, and you're just like, yeah, whatever. And you just keep moving forward.
I don't need to meet emissions. I can still get a sticker. Let's keep going.
All right, yeah. I'm over 1999. I'm fine. I can get the sticker either way. But it's funny because, like, and then you have the mental breakdown, and now it's a problem. But if you just do regular check-ins with yourself throughout the process, like whatever it is, however, like I used to do it. I don't do it this way anymore. But when I first started, I used to schedule like every week, like one day a week, to just kind of sit down and just really just be with myself for a minute, and just to make sure that I'm going where I want to go, and just did I do everything I wanted to do, and did I figure everything out that I wanted to figure out that week?
Well, I want to advocate too. If you have any not really knowledgeable friends, I mean, people who are completely disconnected from your situation, or even if you can get a very qualified therapist.
Yeah,
this is where I advocate therapy. If you have a therapist who really understands the inward workings of somebody's psyche and thought process, it might take somebody else to be able to pull it out of you, or to be able to assess your situation so that you can open it up and be conscious of yourself. Because anybody who is directly in the dough with you, in the masa with you, might not be able to see it
thought you said like dough, like the door.
Yeah,
yes,
don't go out the door, bro.
Sorry.
Yes.
But yeah,
that is
that's
true.
what-
And I think that alongside all of these different things, and I do advocate for therapy if that's the easiest way for you to get this done, but it's also important to be able to self-diagnose, to be able to have a conversation with yourself and say, okay, what is going on? What is actively happening in my life? And being able to look at your life like somebody else and say like, okay, generate this individual, let's say Jennifer, because that's the person we keep using for some reason. You're like, okay, if Jennifer was going through the same issues that I'm going through right now, what questions would I ask them? What questions would I delve into?
Isn't that so funny? We always have advice for other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, but we
absolutely.
could never give ourselves like good advice or like listen to
Absolutely.
ourselves.
It's true.
Most of the time, you already know the answer. It's just like you're not listening to yourself.
Yeah, you don't want to hear it, and that's
Yeah.
and that's the thing. You need somebody who's in your life, like I said, like that good friend, or I mean, if you really need a therapist who's completely disconnected but qualified to give you real results,
Yeah.
it's like they'll ask you the hard questions or tell you the hard truths of like
mean,
you're
therapist,
messed up.
A therapist,
yeah.
like their main goal is to get you to realize that whatever problem that you're having. So they'll like ask you questions to get you to say the answer you already know.
Yeah.
Right,
You
and this
know?
is really the only time I actually advocate for therapy, and is something like this because a lot of people use a therapist as a scapegoat, and they never actually want to dig up the bodies
Yeah.
per se.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of therapists who don't want to dig up the bodies either because it's like, oh, you come here and you just struggle and pay me every week.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unfortunately, that is true. There's an example that keeps coming to my head, and I guess I'll say it because it doesn't really matter anymore. But like there was this time that I went with somebody to go do something mundane, and I went in their car, which was a bad decision, but nonetheless. So we then sat in a parking lot for 2 hours, and this person explained their life issues to me, and I was like, okay. This was at like 10 o'clock at night, by the way, and it was like midnight by the time this finished. So I was like, okay, this is an interesting conversation.
Sounds like a you problem.
Basically what
Yeah.
happened. And it was all like, and then I was sitting there listening to the conversation. And I was interacting because I did want to help this person. And at the end of the conversation, I was basically like, listen, you know the answer to your own problems. It's if you want to accept that answer or not. That's the issue. It's like, if you want to do this and just passively integrate this individual into your life, it was about a person. If you want to integrate this person into your life, integrate this person into your life. It doesn't make a difference to me. It's like, that's a decision that you have to make and that you have to be okay with. Don't think about anybody else in this scenario. And it's something that a lot of us do in our day-to-day lives is like, oh, should I do this thing or should I interact with this person or should I do what I want to do? It's like, know what your options are and pick the best option for you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Actually, and I put in the Trello this morning as you were talking about that. I have a one take topic that will go and correspond very good with that.
That's awesome.
Just on a
There
side
you
note.
go.
And for all our listeners, you hear that?
If you can hear that.
If you can hear that,
It's Romeo.
what's up, Romeo? Welcome to the podcast.
Wherefore art thou?
You saying I'm right here, boy. Anyways, anybody else? We got anything else?
Well, all right. So when you're in the mud, it's very hard to see. So I completely agree with both of your opinions. I think that like the thing with you can't just go reach out for any random person to kind of vent to. Like you have to like this person has to know you. They have to know how you think, and they have to like you have to already have like just don't pick a random person that you know at work and you're just gonna unload.
Especially at 10 o'clock
yeah,
at night.
and don't go tell everybody your business.
Exactly. And because at the end of the day, if you're doing that, you're just looking for a self-validation at the end of the day.
That's really what it is. It's not I want actual counsel. It's I want people to agree with me.
Exactly, and that's where it's like, all right, now you're stepping into a different realm, and that's a whole nother issue. And that maybe that's why you're not happy. Maybe that's because you're just always looking for someone else's approval instead of just yourself. I don't know, it's just a thought. But so
That's legit.
yeah,
Jennifer.
Jennifer, let's get it together, Jennifer. But anyways, but having that. Just having the realization that you've got to this point, and then making the decision like, do I want to take this to a professional level, or can I just slowly get to the root of these things? It's not easy digging up the bodies. It's not a fun job. It's not a comfortable job. It's not a clean job. You're gonna probably really hurt yourself doing it, but you have to, like, it's either you go through the pain now and get uncomfortable now, or you're gonna let it just sit there for long enough until it finds you, because it's gonna dig itself up eventually.
Yeah.
Like that's just what this life is. That's
Well,
what happens.
that's kind of a cool little shadow. It's like you have to go and it takes physical discomfort, but you got to dig the hole to dig up the bodies that are buried, or else one day they're gonna come back as a zombie apocalypse. So make sure you destroy their remains and like put like a silver stake through their heart so that they can't come back.
But
very specific.
that's funny though. But like, it's like you spend your whole life running away from your problems, and if they do come back as zombies, you're gonna keep running away from your problems.
Yo, right.
You know, and then that's just a forever
They come and
running
bite.
away.
They come and bite you. It's really what it is. It's like you have the dead bodies that are there, and that's already bothering you enough because you're like, holy crap, maybe these are gonna come back as zombies one day, and then that day happens, and they come back as zombies, and you can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And they probably compounds too. So it's like
yeah.
usually multiple hit you at the same time. So it's
Yeah.
not even like, okay, I made the decision to fix this one thing. It's like now you got to deal with 20.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's
Get the chainsaw.
yeah, right. But that's really where I wanted to leave it. It's just like, just understand that it's not an easy process. But you have to do it, or else you're gonna spend your entire life running away from the things that make you uncomfortable. And if you ever want to like sit on a beach in Malibu one day, that's not gonna be easy to do if you have to run around. You know, and I just mean like that in a figurative way. Your mind will keep running away from the problems, whether you are aware of it or not. You'll consciously avoid situations or people because they remind you of things from the past, and you're just continuously always living based off your past decisions instead of just getting to a point to a forgiveness where you're able to grow and make yourself just get through the situations and be comfortable in them so you can stop running from them.
That's all she wrote.
That's it, boys. Till next time.
Thanks for listening to the Life Podcast. If you like this show, please rate us on your favorite podcast platform. It really helps us out. If you feel like supporting us in a more direct way, you can check out our Patreon page linked in the description of this video. One last thing. Please let your friends know about the podcast. If you like the show, we're sure they'll like it too. If you'd like to reach out to us, send us an email at thelifepodcastshow@gmail.com. We appreciate all of your support, and we'll see you next time.
Okay, now let's have a little bit more fun with that, Benji.
I don't like to have fun, Eric.